Earlier this week, I had the opportunity to have a conversation about AI in high school English classrooms with Julie Faulkner, a really experienced high school English teacher and a teacher author that I've looked up to for a long time. She had some incredible insights about how to think about this from both the teacher perspective and the way our students are using it or not using it. And I think it's just so important to share her wisdom with you all. And I initially asked her to chat with me for about 15 minutes, but if you've ever, you know how it is when two teachers get on a subject that they're passionate about, we went long. So I actually am splitting this into two videos and hope you enjoy, and I hope you get lots of wisdom, and check the description for all the cool stuff that Julie is talking about in this episode if you want to check it out and learn more. Hello, Julie. Thank you so much for joining me on the English Department YouTube channel. It is an honor to have you as our first guest.
Well, I am excited to be here. Thank you for asking me, and I am honored to be the first guest.
Well, first of all, I know who you are. I was so happy to meet you in person for the first time this summer. But could you just introduce yourself, like what you teach, how long you've been teaching, and anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I'm Julie Faulkner, and if you cannot tell from my accent, I'm from the South. I'm from Tennessee, and this is actually my 22nd year teaching. And I have taught everything from a special school for special needs to rural schools, and now I'm teaching in a city school that is probably 3 times the size of the bulk of my teaching career. And I've taught at the college level. Now I'm teaching AP Lang and dual enrollment. And I've also taught inclusion. So everything from grade 7 to beyond grade 12, all the way up to college. So I have just about experienced and used every bit of my degree in my teaching career. And I have a blog called juliefaulknersblog.com where I share my classroom success stories, and people follow along with me there and on my social medias. And that's been a fun little part of my teaching story as well.
Well, and honestly, it was your Instagram series that we're going to talk about that kind of inspired my courage to reach out to you on this topic, because I know it's something that, I mean, it's kind of everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about AI, but I hear everyone talking about us in AI, and I would like us to talk about it, us being English teachers. And I'm going to kind of, I don't know if you read the same article, but I'm going to take you back to December of 2022, which is when ChatGPT launched. I remember kind of like blurrily opening up my phone one morning, looking at Apple News, and an Atlantic article, and I have the author and title here, I read, called "The End of High School English." Subtitled, "I've been teaching English for 12 years and I'm astounded by what ChatGPT can produce," by Daniel Herman. And he's an English teacher, and he was like, guys, I put in my AP Literature Macbeth prompts and it gave me a passable essay, and then it's been nothing but doom and gloom ever since. There's no point in teaching it. Why would anyone want to? And it really, I mean, I guess bums me out is the phrase, because I don't know about you, but I'm showing up every day in my English classroom and doing meaningful work and getting meaningful writing from my students. And while it's a part of the landscape for sure, I, I don't know. I'm not feeling the absolute doom that it seems like we are being told we are experiencing. What about you?
So my first encounter with the ChatGPT is also a little anecdote. One of my colleagues knew that it was coming and ran into my room and said, "You're not going to believe this. This is going to be the end of it." He didn't write the Atlantic article, but he did let me know, "Hey, this is a problem." And I said, "That's crazy." I just blew it off. I didn't even give it a second thought. And it wasn't too much long after that when he started tinkering with it a little bit more and students started realizing what it could do, that I realized, okay, this is definitely something that is going to change the landscape of teaching and learning. And so that's when I started to think about, okay, what can it do? What can it not do? How does this look in my classroom for me as an English teacher?
Yeah. And I mean, absolutely, it's prevalent. Students are using it, but I think there's just a more nuanced conversation we can have about this than just it's all or nothing. Everyone's using it, or, we all absolutely have to go back to paper and pencil everything all the time. So, one thing I want to get into before we even just get into how students are using it or shouldn't be using or should be using it, let's back up a little bit and just talk about, teachers and how teachers are using it. And something that you were sharing in your Instagram series that I found so powerful and honestly encouraging and uplifting and validating was you were talking about like the difference between a chat GPT created resource or AI created resource
Mhm.
and a teacher created
Yeah.
resource. And if you could just kind of like speak to that a little bit, let's frame it like this. New teachers coming to this profession that are overwhelmed with all the things are probably seeing, well, why wouldn't I just go to chat GPT to make all my lesson plans, all my materials if it can save me all this time?
Right.
Why wouldn't they? What's the difference?
Yeah, so I think for me, the biggest thing, especially as an English teacher at the high school level, where students depend on us and our content knowledge to deliver that to them in a correct way, because many of them are taking standardized tests, the ACT, AP language, AP lit. They depend on us to deliver content to them that is correct. And I think that's probably the biggest problem that I have seen with an AI created resource is that they are not correct. I have, like you said on my Instagram, several examples where I have tinkered with it to just see what it would do, and it would give me incorrect information. It would key incorrectly because it doesn't know the nuanced, comma rules, or it will create passages and it will be incomplete. And so that's another problem that I think too is that with the AI created lessons, they're not complete. And if you're a new teacher and you're getting incorrect information, you may or may not, have your legs under you yet with all of these, for example, grammar rules. But then on top of that, you get an incomplete lesson. And where I see that a lot of times is it'll throw out an idea, and if you just print that out and go cold, you go into your classroom, there are 30 people looking at you. They're all different. Chat GPT does not know them like a teacher does. And what I see is huge gaps in what it has created. And then also at the same time, it's just not creative. We know that it does have capability to create some things, but for the most part, it's just pulling information from other places. And that can sometimes, give a false sense of security as well. And so, even just since we're just talking about the classroom right here, but that kind of falls under the umbrella too of a teacher author, depending on or using a bot to create things for copyright issues, etc. But I think for me that would be the message that I would want to send a new teacher is it's dangerous to rely on something without at the very least without checking it, or any teacher, it doesn't have to be just a new teacher, without checking it and making sure and relying, just looking at what it gives you and making sure that you're the human, you're the expert. I've seen it make mistakes with MLA citations. It often gets it confused. It'll blend different types of citation methods. So there are just tons
Yeah.
of examples where it doesn't give us the high quality materials that we know we need for our students.
And just kind of piggybacking off of that too, put a lot of emphasis on the design of the resources we put in front of students. And sure, you can copy paste something from ChatGPT that's full of emojis, but there is something about the way that you organize and present information on the page that also communicates expectations to students. And I lament the loss of teachers really getting comfortable playing around with that. When you actually think about it from a design perspective of like, where are you guiding students' eyes on the page to follow directions? Are you putting things in, formatted appropriately to make sure everyone can see and process the information? Teachers have to do those things anyway to have functional resources. And I know that, you and I both work as teacher authors too, and we put so much care and craft into that as well that 10 out of 10 times a human made resource is going to speak more into our students' needs than, or a variety of students' needs than something generated by an AI resource.
Well, and I am not a fan of textbooks either, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you've seen the resources that are given with the textbook, and they're also pretty
Very
plain, they're
basic.
very
Yeah.
basic. I feel like ChatGPT or an AI is a step down from that, if that's even possible. Um,
Yeah, I
so,
agree.
but now if ChatGPT is becoming the bar, I hate that for teachers and for students.
I am curious, are there any scenarios where you see teachers getting some benefit from AI tools?
So I do think that it is helpful in some ways. I think back to when I was first teaching, this is probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, the state of Tennessee had a writing assessment for all juniors. And we were sort of on the cutting edge in our district that we had an online writing program that students could go in and write their essay and get immediate scoring, immediate feedback. It was normed, it was wonderful, and it did great things for our scores as well. So I think in that regard, there are programs out there that teachers could use to do that kind of grading and feedback, and that students can also use as well to get that kind of feedback, immediate scoring, because it takes so long for us to score the essays. I
Mhm.
mean, AP reading alone, it was days and days and thousands and
With thousands of people.
yes,
Yeah.
doing it, and so humans are just slower at that, and so in some regard, if you can find a program that's useful and helpful, then I think that is definitely something that's from the writing standpoint, that is really good. I also just think simply,
And
like, with Google Forms, I have 130 students, and that is a beast. And so anything that I can do as multiple choice that will auto grade, I mean, that's a form of AI as well. It gives students that immediate feedback. So that's another little piece that I think is very helpful and useful for teachers.
sure. And I think that my primary use of it for my teacher side of my life is converting things from one format to another. So stuff that I have that already exists. So like you're saying with Google Forms, the Brisk AI extension, if I have like, oh, I've made this quiz that's printable 10 years ago, or something, but I'm ready to migrate it to Google Forms so it will self-score. It's been pretty good for just converting those sorts of things. And this isn't to, shame anybody who's using it because they're using the best tools they have, that they can maximize their time with. But
Mhm.
I think it's important just to consider what is lost possibly when a teacher doesn't go through the act of making some more of those things, himself or herself. Okay.